Well, hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Cotton Grower Magazine's Cotton Companion podcast. This is Jim Stedman, Senior Editor of Cotton Grower. I don't know how things are where you are, but spring's been trying its hardest to move into the Mid-South in a big way. We have daffodils blooming, the sun has been warm and shining, and of course, rain and cooler temperatures are now rolling back in to kind of put spring and any thoughts of that early field work right back on hold. But with this seasonal change comes another change, a welcome change, and I'm happy to welcome a familiar voice back to the Cotton Companion in Beck Barnes. I know many of you have missed him. He's missed us too, so he says.
I have.
So welcome back. Yeah, so welcome back, Beck. And inquiring minds want to know what you've been up to, maybe especially for the last five and a half months.
Yeah. Well, we were 6 months as of this past weekend. Yeah, I got a new little cotton companion of my own here at home. I got a 6-month-old daughter these days, so if I sound have a little cobweb head, it's because I haven't been doing just a whole bunch of sleeping down here in Memphis over the past 6 months. But it's been great, you know it, and yeah, I'm happy to be back on the Cotton Companion. You know, I was thinking about it the last time I was hosting episodes, we had prices in the 60-cent range.
Right.
And it feels like I'm returning. Things have been at $1. And I know we're going to talk about the market here in a little bit and kind of dissect it with OA, who's much more knowledgeable about it than us. But he did mention a couple of bearish signs out there. And man, I can't help but feel like I'm like the cooler when I come on the podcast. Things are great in my absence, and then I return, and I hope they stay great. Let me just say that. I don't want to jinx it.
We're not going to write any of that down.
Yeah.
Because I don't want anybody to come back at you,
Yeah.
with any of that. But it's the cyclical nature of this market. It's, we've all seen it before. It's high and then it swings down to go low, and then it starts working itself back up. But I think this market is resilient enough to realize that and everything that that we'll figure it out. But like you said, kind of over the last couple of weeks, seems like the comments, questions about pricing, about acres, about supply chain issues, they're just keep getting louder. And now add in these other potential market and supply impacts that all the uncertainties over in Eastern Europe are contributing to. And it's really turned into a tougher time for a lot of clear decisions than maybe a lot of growers were counting on right now as planting is approaching. As you said, we're already seeing a little bit of impact on cotton prices. And to talk about that right now, we're going to bring in our good friend, Dr. O.A. Cleveland, who's Professor Emeritus of Ag Economics at Mississippi State University, to kind of discuss the past week in the cotton market and some of the obstacles and opportunities ahead. Now, OA's visits to the podcast are always popular, so sit back and let's see what he has to say. OA, welcome back to the Cotton Companion. How are you doing, and how do you think the cotton market's doing?
Well, the cotton market hopefully is doing about like I'm doing, trying to recover. And there is some recovery to do, and there's no question about it. But I think the underlying conditions are still strong for cotton. It's just that, as hindsight, as much as we should have expected, this little saber rattling, it did catch, I think, all markets off guard, and it's thrown things certainly in an upside down situation. And we're just, for right now, tending to struggle to hold on, but it's been a bit of a losing battle. But hopefully this week, we'll turn this market back around a bit.
Well, I think it's safe to say that we're kind of in unprecedented times right now. So let's kind of start with the Ukraine situation. In your recent column, you noted that the Russian invasion has really kind of spooked the market to the point where it's almost a one step forward, two step backwards. I call it a tango at this point. Can you kind of explain what you mean by that?
Well, we've basically what I was attempting to say was, yes, we were sitting at 120 or right above $1.20 a pound. And we fell back a few points, or a cent and a half, And then we rallied 75 points, 80 points. And then we fell down back 120 points. And then the next day we had a triple digit gain or back up. And then we fall back down, as you say in the tango. We gain a little bit, lose a little bit more. And now all of a sudden we've got July down around $1.13. That's maybe a little bit high, but not too high. Last I checked the market this morning, it was still trying to rally a little bit. So it's the market period was caught off guard, and it's certainly caught producers off guard. Mills still are showing an affinity to cotton. They want cotton. The biggest problem they have is obtaining prompt delivery. But they still like cotton, and mills obviously like this lower price. There's been a lot of fixations on the market, but still there are a lot of fixations out there that have to come yet.
Over the past week, so cotton's run is sort of the favored child with Wall Street, and the speculators seems to have come to an end, and grains and oilseeds have kind of moved to the forefront. What's caused that to happen?
Well, and that's exactly right. There is a minor shortage of food grains in the world right now. Of course, outside of China, there's a little bit of a shortage of cotton for that matter. And to put that in perspective, the way you phrased it, cotton's up only about 5% year from the first of the year. And all of a sudden, with what we've seen the last 2 weeks, wheat's up 50%. Corn and soybeans are up somewhere 25 to 30%. And the cause has been, first, the Ukraine is without question the breadbasket of Europe. It's also one of the very major exporters of wheat. I'm trying to go back through my numbers mentally. I believe Ukraine is the largest exporter of wheat. And they also certainly have a decent corn crop. Just south of them is Romania, which has a major corn crop for Europe. It's not a particularly important in the export market, but it's certainly a huge crop for Romania, and it supplies Europe. So all of a sudden we've got these two crops that are in peril. The odds are that wheat is not going to be harvested just because of the war in Ukraine will not be harvested. Neither will the corn. Neither will corn actually be planted. A little early, but if we see anything on TV that we believe, a very high probability we aren't going to even plant any corn or oil seeds in the Ukraine this year. Now we'll probably plant in Romania, we'll plant corn, but who knows how this being next door and with the refugees, one of the major countries that the Ukraine refugees are flowing into is Romania. So that it does tell the market, hey, we better watch this very closely and see if this Romanian corn crop is going to come off. Additionally, the Russians have moved to basically block or close almost every port on the Black Sea, and Romania has 2 ports there. And to get past those ports, if you get past those ports, you still have to contend with the Russian Navy. So the world market is very, very concerned about whether or not these 2 important crops in these 2 very important countries will in fact come to the market. So it's very natural that wheat would have skyrocketed more so than any other commodity. And it's very normal and natural that cotton always on my mind, and it should be on everybody's mind, I would suggest to you. But corn is also very important, and that's there. And then there's the oilseed market in Europe is also affected by this. So that's why those prices are up substantially more than cotton is.
Yeah, Wade, that's interesting. You mentioned in passing China there, and anytime we're talking cotton, China's going to be the 800-pound gorilla in the room. I always remember in February of 2020, I was sitting at the Gin Show and heard Joe Nicosia say they were ready to capitalize on this phase 1 agreement. China was going to be off to the races on their cotton fulfillment in phase 1. if we could just get around this thing called coronavirus that was just starting to come across the news feeds. And that was, February 2020. And here we are in early March 2022, and it seems like they have kind of met some of those import quotas from phase one, at least with regards to cotton. Is China still our biggest customer?
Yes, China does remain our biggest customer. And if we look at export shipments week after week, as well as export sales, we see that we're going full blast, or we are going full blast to make sure that we export cotton to China. That's a destination that the merchants and co-ops are wanting to fulfill those orders as quick as possible, simply because there is concern that there could be a problem down the road. So with China being our major customer, being our major sales point, we want to get those sales fulfilled as quick as possible so as not to lose them if in fact we have problems. That's on everybody's mind, that we might have a problem with China, that the two governments might just very aggressively agree to disagree, and we'll begin to lose export sales. With respect to phase one, agriculture has come off very well. China has typically not met, but come close to meeting the agricultural requirements of that, and cotton more so than the other commodities. Beans have been right up there, but cotton more so than other commodities. And it's the requirements are not completely met, but they're within ballpark. They're certainly being met, and that's good. It's the non-ag issue that surfaces. Those exports are not being met at all with respect to phase one. So we just continue to watch the cotton sales, but more importantly now, because we're nearly 6 months into we're basically, I think, 6 months now into the marketing year, with about 25, 24, 26 weeks left to go. We have to watch that to make sure we do make these deliveries. Deliveries are well behind. They're catching up a little bit, but I expect we're going to see some more reductions in export shipments that are at least in USDA's outlook for exports. But I don't think we'll suffer as much in other countries as we will drag behind in our Chinese exports. But with merchants and mills are making, or merchants as well as Chinese mills are making every effort they can to get U.S. cotton into China.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's reassuring to hear. That's certainly bullish development. Can you tell me, do you think we're starting to see more? Seems like we may be just starting to see a little more bearish movement in this market. Is there anything in particular, fundamentally, globally, that we should be concerned with right now in terms of bearish movement in the cotton market?
Well, that's an excellent question. And certainly if we look at prices, the answer is a loud yes. However, as I start looking at fundamentals, as you pointed out, it's difficult to find bearish fundamentals other than the uncertainty associated with the war and what that's going to do, and how that might impact global spending and the big dollar items, or the macroeconomic items as we move down the line. But cotton per se, first off, we look at on-call sales versus on-call purchases, and with just approximately about 9 million bales need to be bought in the futures market between now and around the middle of June, and only about 1.1 million bales need to be sold in the futures market. So the ratio of buying futures to selling futures is actually stronger now than it's been all year, and it's been very strong all year. So that's a very positive factor to support cotton prices. Nonetheless, we've seen prices drop. We'll see, I think personally, we'll see the USDA supply demand report tell us that world consumption, it has held on. It may be slightly stronger than where we thought just a month ago. So I think we're going to see that world carryover is down just a little bit. Now, I would not be surprised to see U.S. carryover up slightly, but being up slightly. There's the U.S. is holding certainly not the bulk, but about 20% of the available supply in the major export countries. So we have cotton. Again, it goes back to this transportation issue that's not only affecting the United States, it's affecting Brazil, it's affecting other exporters of trying to get cotton out of the country. The last 3 weeks have been pretty good export weeks. I anticipate that will be a good week. This will be a good week coming forth. It may be the best week we've had all year from the ideas I'm picking up from merchants. But merchants feel very comfortable about selling cotton. They tell us they're still selling very aggressively now. And China remains a big buyer. The big question continues to be how soon and how quick we can get this cotton out. Never had that problem before. Trucks and ships have always been available, but not now. So it's a major problem. But all in all, I would say that the fundamentals per se still suggest that prices should hold on, should actually be higher. And adding to that, I would say that as we begin to take shape for the December 22 contract, the December 22 crop, that market is looking a little bit more bullish than it might have 6 weeks ago, 3 months ago.
Oh, wait, Jim, I know you were getting ready to ask a question of yours, but I hear you saying logistics are, we can get it sold, we just can't get it shipped. Or logistics is a big issue. Can you foresee, and maybe you can't, but is there a scenario where the logistical backlogs affecting everything, but for our purposes affecting cotton, starts to weigh down, be one of those bearish factors on the price of cotton? Is that something that is possible?
That's a very logical thought, and I think something that many people have worried about it. I've certainly been concerned about it. But we also have to understand that as we get into the early months of a new marketing year, that would be August, September, October, exports are typically not that strong. Now, we've had great sales, so it's also logical to think that if the demand is there now, it's 6 months from now, 5 months from now, that demand will probably be there then. It may not be as strong, it may be stronger. So I think what we'll see is our August, September exports stronger than they have been in the past, seasonally very strong. So, and that just means that will be coming out of 22 crop cotton. So when by and large, we won't lose those sales. So it could turn out to be bearish, but at this point in time, I think we have to keep it on in the plus column.
Oh, wait, just a quick question. Talking about cotton prices and the fact that they're kind of hanging in there at this point, and demand is holding in there. But I think we've all seen before when cotton prices reach a certain point, the mills are going to start turning their attention over to synthetics and start increasing blends and things like that. But with oil prices climbing to where they are currently sitting today, isn't that going to put as much crunch on the synthetic side of the market as anything?
Yes, that's definitely adding pressure to the price of synthetics. And as you say, oil prices have just. I know you and I are saying the same thing. I'm just going to use a little stronger adjective. Oil prices going up, and as you know better than I, they've just exploded, an unbelievable increase. So yes, and that does translate into higher prices for synthetics, for polyester, and that's a plus for cotton. We were weathering the storm in cotton very well, actually, up until about $1.25 or so in March, when March began to get to that level. And in fact, we really weren't losing any market share at that point, but we were getting hearing a lot of talk about switching. Those switches were never made, and now I think probably we could stand. I'm not predicting that the July or the May goes to $1.30 at all. I would like to, but I can't do it. I wish I could. But I think we can weather that storm up to $1.30, $1.35 if in fact we can get a little bit of the war fundamental behind us and see where we go from there. But at the same time, I think the market is telling us, well, this happened in Ukraine, and China's been thumping its chest with respect to Taiwan. I don't know. No one knows how the U.S. might respond to that. But I think the markets are beginning to, or will tend to favor discounting cotton if, in fact, they begin to think that the China and U.S. may go tit for tat on Taiwan.
Well, looking back domestically, let's leave the other side of the world alone for just a few minutes. We know how much you love to dissect acreage projections. And a couple of weeks ago, USDA came out and said they projected 12.7 million acres of cotton in the U.S. this year. Are they too high? Are they too low? Are they just right? And what's the West Texas situation going to do to factor into all that?
Well, that's yeah, I agree. Go ahead. Next question. It's really up in the air. A number of things are going on. Let's start with the more positive things first. The insurance price for West Texas is going to be just a little above $1 a pound. It's calculatable now. Someone probably has. It's probably about $1.01 a pound. It's hard. We've never faced anything like that. I think last year at 91 cents a pound was a record. So an insurance price a dime higher than that begs for cotton. Absolutely begs for cotton. It begs for dryland cotton. And you've heard me say this before. At $1.01, or at $1 cotton guarantee or insurance price, the dryland, just plant it and come back later and see if there's anything there to harvest. Don't bring your picker with you. Go see if there's anything there. If there is, go back and get your picker. It just begs for cotton. It just begs and screams to plant cotton. That's West Texas. That's dry land. Nonetheless, with these prices, it's hard not to think seriously about planting cotton anyway, even in the face of corn. Of course, corn can be stronger in the northern district of West Texas where there's good water, strong water. But at the same time, I think we'll lose some cotton land to corn in that regard. But at the same time, we've had some huge price increases with respect to inputs. And I would tend to think that we're going to have a cheaper crop this year. I know irrigated folks, good little sandy soil, whether it be Texas, irrigated and sandy soil or mid-south or southeast, we still added the inputs when inputs got high. But inputs now are exorbitantly high. It's a different situation. Inputs are up 60%, 100%, 200%. Urea is up 300 or 400%. So it translates into a different picture than what we've seen before. So I think we tend to not provide the management with respect to inputs that we have in the past. So it pretends to be a lower crop. It pretends, as we were getting at initially, to be plantings are reduced. I would tend to think instead of the 12.7 that USDA came out, I believe the National Cotton Council had 12.3 or 12.03, and the Cotton Grower Survey that y'all do is the first one of the year is, I think, has a great history, and I think the industry is well served by y'all's survey. It seems like it was 12.3. I've forgotten right now.
Ours was right around 12.5.
12.5. Okay, this is a COVID year and a COVID month for me, so I've forgotten a lot of stuff. 12.5. I actually thought you were low at the time. I thought the Cotton Council was dreadfully low. By the time the USDA number came out, I said, finally, I've been vindicated. That's about where I was. But now then, I think somewhere between the cotton grower number and the Cotton Council's number is where we're going to come out. 12.2 to 12.4 is what we're going to have. We'll lose 300 to 400,000 acres as of today. If oil prices continue to skyrocket, that just pushes insurance price, fertilizer prices higher and higher, and certainly the diesel fuel higher and higher. But so something in the neighborhood of 300,000 to 400,000 acres will be lost. So if y'all were 12.5, I think today it would be 12.4. It's hard for me to see anything less than the National Cotton Council's 12 million acres, even at prices at this level, at input cost at this level, simply because of the insurance price. I think probably as we look around the Southeast, we've had a few, not many, we've had a few module pickers sold there. And I think anybody that's bought a module picker is committed to cotton now. And we've seen more of that in the Mid-South and the Southeast. But I did pick up in the Southeast that a number of people were looking to make major investments, long-term investments in cotton. And we're going to, unless they've already made that, we're going to lose that. We were thinking in terms of 10 to 15% at various times during the year of acreage increase. I think the maximum increase we'll see is 5%, and that would be throughout the Southeast and the Mid-South. We will lose some acreage to corn. I didn't think we necessarily would. Following up the same thing, the comment must be made that rotation has become much more important in the Cotton Belt, or more specifically in the Southeast and Mid-South and parts of Texas. Rotation plays a major part today. It didn't 5 years ago. It was becoming in vogue. It didn't 10 years ago, but today we really have to watch that rotation. It's generally more important than price ratios, but obviously price ratios are important. I look at an area here that's gone from almost no cotton up to a cotton gin close to me but has ginned as many as 150,000 bales this year, ginned about 110. They anticipate that they'll gin 110 next year. And it's primarily they're keeping the acreage the same between corn, cotton, and soybeans because of rotation patterns. They've gotten into it and they like it. They feel like it's good for their land.
All right. Well, I tell you what, this sounds like a pretty good place to end today's discussion. And obviously, we've got an awful lot to watch and learn here over the next few months. And I'm pretty sure, I'm not going out on a limb here, I'm pretty sure it's not going to be a smooth ride anytime soon. But as always, thanks again, OA, for joining us. We hope to see you out and about again soon.
I look forward to it. To make sure the point was clear that I anticipate a lower yield this coming season, and that would bode well for price. The lower yield associated with the precarious situation with respect to input cost. A lower input usage would imply a lower yield. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, OA.
Well, that's it for this episode of the Cotton Companion podcast. We want to, as always, give a special thanks to Dr. O.A. Cleveland for sharing his marketing insight. And as always, a big thanks to you, dear listeners, for joining us. If you like what you're hearing on the Cotton Companion, please be sure to spread the word. Tell your farmer buddies about the podcast. And here's where and how they can find us.
You can find the Cotton Companion in 3 easy ways. First, go to cottongrower.com/companion, or simply click the podcast tab at the top of the homepage. Second, subscribe to our channel on iTunes or wherever you find your podcasts these days. And 3, sign up for our weekly e-newsletter, the Cotton Grower e-News, that's delivered to your email inbox every Tuesday morning. You can do that by going to cottongrower.com/subscribe. Also, be sure to follow Cotton Grower on social media. We are at Cotton Grower Mag on Twitter. And on Facebook, you'll find us by searching for Cotton Grower Magazine.
Cotton Companion podcast is produced twice monthly by Tyler Hatch and Kim Henderson, our talented colleagues back at the world headquarters for Meister Media Worldwide in lovely Willoughby, Ohio. My name's Jim Stedman. His name's Beck Barnes, and we'll be back with you in 2 weeks for the next episode of the Cotton Companion. Until then, stay safe.
Yeah, he works and he works and he works and he works all day. God made a farmer